Hey, welcome back to another video. Now today, hold on, wait, wrong one. Today, we're going to be reacting to Facebook whistleblower makes shock claim. That's what it says. Makes shock claim about Mark Zuckerberg during Senate testimony. Uh-oh. Hey, I'm going to just let this play, y'all, because I'm interested. Because, hey, man, this guy right here, this guy gets in people's butts. He gets all up in their butts, finger all up in that, he fist them. Like, this dude is about it. Let's go.
Senator Blumenthal, if you're ready, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman. In order to operate in China, the Communist Party requires American companies to register with authorities and host servers inside the country, and I think it's pretty well known that Chinese law requires that security services are allowed access to any data hosted within the country. Did any of Facebook's security team or its engineers raise concerns to management about Americans' private information being exposed to Chinese spying?
Yes, Senator, they did.
How did they do that?
They documented their concern in a number of ways. They noted that this...
Hold up. Facebook was doing what they said TikTok was doing. That TikTok, they said TikTok had our information from giving our information to China. But are you about to tell me in this testimony that Facebook was doing exactly what they said TikTok was doing? Anyways, I want to see. What the heck?
This would happen, that the Chinese would get access to the data, and they also noted their concern in other discussions and other documentation, saying, you know, my red line as a security engineer is to not be comfortable with this, but my red line is not Mark Zuckerberg's red line.
Maybe you can explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, she really needs to explain that. Jesus Christ. Whoa. This is big for me. This is big. This is really big.
The engineer was saying that they were not comfortable with the way the China project was structured that would allow the Chinese Communist Party to potentially access American citizens' data. But in saying that, they noted that, you know, that's a red line for me as a security engineer. That's not Mark Zuckerberg's red line.
Did you sense he had any red line?
I did not.
If you did, you don't know what it was?
I don't.
If you have more information related to these spying risks, would you be willing to share it with the committee?
I would, Senator.
And Mark Zuckerberg was knowledgeable about the planning, and do you know whether he was knowledgeable about the risks as well?
My understanding is that the risk is the hardest part of the plan, so it's unthinkable that he was not aware of the risk.
Nothing happened here without his approval and knowledge.
This was a project unlike any other project I worked on during my time at Meta, in that it was so centrally led by Mark Zuckerberg, and he was so personally invested in this project. He learned Mandarin. He traveled to China more than any other country. He had weekly Mandarin sessions with employees. It's hard to overstate how different this project was to any other project I experienced in my many years at the company.
So there would be no credibility to his denying that he knew about the risks, he knew about the concerns raised by his engineers and his China team, and he was intimately involved in not only the planning and the engineering, but also in taking those risks.
Senator, he was traveling to Beijing.
So Mark Zuckerberg knew the risk. He knew what he was getting himself into. We make that clear. We'll see where this is going. But that's clear. He learned Mandarin. She said Mandarin. Mandarin. Why did she say it like that? Mandarin is Mandarin. She learned Mandarin. She learned that. I'm not trying to be funny. But nah, I ain't gonna be funny. It's a political video. Y'all gonna get mad if I start being funny, but wait, okay, so I'm gonna just ask the question, right? Y'all for the comments. Like, y'all be talking shit anyway, so fuck it. Somebody gonna answer this question. Is Japanese and Chinese the same language? Like, do they both speak Mandarin? Like, I'm just curious. Like, or is there a difference between, I don't know, this is going too far. But like, okay, so Vietnam, the Vietnamese people, right, are also trying to like negotiate right now with China. And I was like, are Vietnamese people from the same, like, you know, like, come on, man, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Like Japanese people and Chinese people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Okay, I'll admit this. Like, if you met a black in Africa, or you met a black in Haiti, like, you really wouldn't be able to tell the difference until we open our mouths and speak what we are, right? Like, you know, like, okay, you know, we're all from the same place. So like, I just be wondering, you know, don't get mad at me, y'all. I'm just curious. I'm really curious. And y'all be taking everything as racist, so I'm not saying anything racist. I just want to know, like, what's the difference in the languages from Japanese to Chinese?
In the document submitted to the
God, this guy's voice.
Willing to provide
Get
the
to
data
the point.
of users in Hong Kong to the Chinese government at a time when pro-democracy protesters were opposing Beijing's crackdown. Is that impression correct? And how did Facebook treat Taiwan or Hong Kong?
So that impression is correct.
I'm just asking the question.
One of the more surprising things is that as part of the censorship tool that was developed, there were virality counters. So anytime a piece of content got over 10,000 views, that would automatically trigger it being reviewed by what they called the chief editor. And what was particularly surprising is that the virality counters were not just installed, but activated in Hong Kong and also in Taiwan.
Oh!
Clorox Sentiva cleans like Clorox. Smells like grape.
She just admitted, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, so we got this trade war going on with China right now, right? She just admitted that one of our companies went over to China and was giving them our data. She just admitted that. They talking about TikTok, and she literally... Look, y'all. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier about this, right? The job of a politician or a business person is to maintain the company or the state. Facebook in China might have been more money for him. That's probably why he did it. Let's keep going.
Let me ask you, I raised in my remarks, and I know that a number of other colleagues did as well, the record of misrepresentation and deceit. One of our former colleagues, Senator Leahy, asked Mark Zuckerberg in 2018 whether Facebook would comply with Chinese censorship and surveillance demand. He even asked if Facebook had built censorship tools to enter the Chinese market, and Zuckerberg responded, I'm quoting, "Because Facebook has been blocked in China since 2009, we are not in a position to know exactly how the government would seek to apply its laws and regulations on content were we permitted to offer our service to Chinese users." Ms. Williams, was that accurate?
That is not accurate. You know, hundreds of decisions had been made, and by 2018, they'd been in dialogue directly with the Chinese Communist Party for 4 years.
The fact is, by 2018...
See, I ain't gonna lie, man. Never mind. I'm gonna wait to say what I'm gonna say, because y'all gonna think this is crazy what I'm about to say too, but y'all might think it. I don't know, but it's about to be off the wall what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna hold it off for a second.
Look, Bill, it even turned on censorship and surveillance tools that it developed for Chinese security officials, correct?
It developed, and those Chinese Communist Party officials tested the censorship tool and would give feedback and say, this needs to change, or we need this, or we need confidence that you can capture images and filter images we don't want seen.
You know, we talk a lot about 1984. Facebook developed a virility counter tool,
The book.
that directed any posts of over 10,000 views to be reviewed by an Orwellian named, quote-unquote, chief editor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And was the chief editor's geographic reach limited to mainland China, or did they plan to cover other locations?
They plan to cover Hong Kong and Taiwan, is my understanding.
So their surveillance operation was directed at Taiwan
That's my understanding, Senator.
and Hong Kong.
That's my understanding.
Was the editor-in-chief's or the chief editor's power limited to reviewing viral posts?
Oh no, it's extensive power. The chief editor would be able to turn off the entire service in specific regions, for example, Xinjiang, or would also be able to turn off or manage the service on significant anniversaries like the anniversary of Tiananmen Square.
So the chief editor, a creation of Facebook, was an Orwellian censor that applied to locations outside mainland China, to Taiwan and Hong Kong, to people not within the legal jurisdiction of China, but also obviously the Chinese themselves. And it was designed and implemented by Meta and Mark Zuckerberg.
Correct, Senator.
Even though its very existence was denied before this committee in 2018.
Oh, wow.
That's correct, Senator.
Wow. Y'all?
I'm Brett.
And I'm Jonathan.
This is Darla.
Yeah, this is getting spicy. This is getting spicy.
Silicon Valley companies are famous, as you know, for their moonshot programs, such as Google X.
Right.
In recent years, Mark Zuckerberg spent billions of dollars on the metaverse and AI. He even named or renamed the company as part of a pivot to focus on that technology. Did Facebook engage in any moonshot efforts in China? And were these efforts walled off or protected from the Communist Party?
They did, Senator, and I'd be happy to follow up with the committee on this point.
You'd prefer to follow up privately?
Yeah.
Just one last question. I'm interested in how much of a national champion Meta actually is for the United States. Did Facebook share information about its facial recognition, artificial intelligence models, and other sensitive technologies to Chinese security officials? In other words, did it share that significant technology regarding facial recognition and other surveillance methods?
Look, the greatest trick Mark Zuckerberg ever pulled was wrapping the American flag around himself and calling himself a patriot and saying he didn't offer services in China while he spent the last decade building an $18 billion business there.
And he wrapped the flag around himself even as he disclosed sensitive technologies that enabled the Chinese to gain the upper hand on surveilling its citizens, but also the upper hand in engaging with us.
And he continued to wrap the flag around himself as we move into the next era of artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So Mark Zuckerberg designed a piece of Meta that China could use to spy on Taiwan and Hong Kong. And also, we're not certain if that piece of technology can spy on us. Hey, you want to know who the biggest buyer for TikTok was too? Mark Zuckerberg. Maybe that shit like you know, because right now TikTok, at this point, I think it's gone. Like, it's got to be gone because, I mean, Trump done raised the tariff to 245% now. So that's gone. Here's my question, right? That's how you know I'm Americanized, because I don't fucking know or care. But I got the question. So, Japan and China, right? They're two separate entities. I understand that, right? No, this might not be a bad question. Is Japan communist too? So like China's communist, but what is Japan? I know like they're allies to us, but are they communist too? Like are all Asiatic countries communists? Like, because I know that Vietnamese people are considered Asiatics, or are they considered Asiatics? Are they considered Indians? I got a lot of questions, y'all, but hey, I'm gonna stop asking questions before I get this video demonetized. But I'm curious, like, are all Asian countries communists? Because I know the Vietnamese. No, yeah, the Vietnamese are communists. The Vietnamese are communists. I don't know about the Japanese. The Chinese, I know they're communists. But it seems like my point of getting at this is the whole East seems communist. Like, Russia's communist. Except the EU, like the European Unions. But other than that, you know. Anyways, I'm out before I say something stupid.